I am a timeshare owner with Hilton Grand Vacations, and there are so many reasons why I am against timeshares. I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy, it's your personal choice, but this is my opinion as a buyer and what my wife and I have experienced as timeshare owners. Let's start with the consumer laws that you should know about that are specifically designed by government regulators to protect timeshare purchasers before they purchase. And currently, there's a class action lawsuit that was just filed last year in 2023 against the major timeshare resorts for not informing buyers and making these points very clear. By law, this is what you are required to know. Timeshares are not a good investment. Timeshares are not an appreciating asset for you or your children. Timeshares are hard to sell because most people don't want them. I mean, once you get a timeshare, you realize they're not what you thought they would be, and you want to get rid of it. Nobody wants to buy it. It's not good. The fourth point is consumers should not rely on hours of oral promises made by sales reps and their managers. With our ownership, we get points every other year that we can use at any time in a 2-year period. In 2023, we received 98 points and we didn't use them. And so we banked them so that the unused points could be moved into 2024 and used then. And to be honest, it's ridiculous that they make us bank points at all. Of course, I want to use vacation points I own and paid for, but they make things difficult by making us bank them if we want to use them the following year. And even worse, they make us bank them early in the year before we even know if we're going to need them in the current year, which makes no sense. For example, and this is what just happened, I was required to bank my 98 points received in 2023 so that I could use them in 2024. But then my wife and I wanted to use 28 points in December of 2023, this last year. But there weren't any points available in 2023 because we were forced to move them into 2024. They made an exception and they decided to let me move 28 points back into 2023 so that I could use them for my December of 2023 reservation. And then the other 70 points were supposed to stay banked so that we could use them in 2024. However, I called on May 14th of this year, 2024, to make a reservation, and I was told that I had no points to use. After they checked, it turned out that instead of only moving 28 points for my reservation in December of last year, they moved all 98 points back to December of 2023 for that reservation. And then when December 31st came around of this last year, my other 70 points that they had accidentally moved back into 2023 had been deleted. The representative I talked to said that he deals with this daily and that he understood what went wrong and he could see the problem on his computer. So my first question in general is if this happens daily to this representative, I'm sure it also happens daily to other representatives. So why isn't Hilton Grand Vacation doing something to fix this problem when it appears to be affecting so many of their customers? Don't they care? The rep I was talking to contacted his manager and showed her exactly what happened and how Hilton Grand Vacations made the mistake. But this manager wouldn't give me my points back. Instead, she told the rep that I was talking to that he needed to send her an email and that she'd look at it later and then give me an answer in the next few days or so if I'd get my points back or not. But I said, no, I need to make this reservation now. She can see right there on the computer that the mistake was made. She just needs to take a second to look at it. I explained that I wanted my points back now so that I can make the reservation immediately since the date was just a week away. But the manager didn't seem to care, and she said I needed to wait for her reply, which would take a few days, which is, of course, ridiculous. The mistake was right there on the computer. The rep saw it, and the manager could see it, but she chose to do nothing. So then I tried to contact member services in hopes they would get my points returned, but there was no member services phone number, just different phone numbers for different departments that had nothing to do with what I needed. And so it made it very difficult to resolve. I tried talking to those other departments in hopes that someone would connect me to the appropriate department that could help with what I needed, but they all just said, we can't help. So after about a week of contacting Hilton Grand Vacations, many different ways, including LinkedIn, including Facebook messaging, and every other way I could find to contact them, they finally got this resolved and got me my points back. And that manager that was supposedly going to get back to me within 3 days, it was over a week before I finally got my points back, and I never heard from her. This should not have happened, and I should not have had to go through all of that time that was wasted just to get back what was mine. Here's another issue I have with timeshare ownership. As a vacation owner with Hilton Grand Vacations, we are not allowed to rent out our timeshare to anyone, and I'm fine with that. But here's the problem. Hilton Grand Vacations has room inventory, and they are allowed to rent to non-owners. Many of these non-owners don't care about the property. They stay up late fighting, and they don't treat the property with respect. As owners, we have to pay the extra wear and tear caused by some of the people Hilton Grand Vacations rented to. But I still ask the question, if we can't rent to non-owners, why is Hilton Grand Vacations allowed to rent to non-owners? This is just one of many discrepancies where they have a lot of benefits, we have none. Wesley Financial Group, LLC said, maintenance fees are called the loan that can never be repaid. They're never paid off, and they never go away. They're practically guaranteed to increase year after year, and owners are contractually bound to pay them even though they have no control over how big they might get. In addition to all of the fees that we pay as timeshare owners, and they've gone up quite a bit over the years, Hilton Grand Vacations and the other timeshare companies have a voluntary American Resort Development Association's Resort Owners Coalition. It's a fee that they add to our bill. The problem is they add it as a line item in the bill, and so it doesn't look like a voluntary option or fee because it's already there and it's part of the total bill due. So most people don't even know they're paying it. I called and complained, and the timeshare company representative said that it is voluntary, and so I can deduct that amount if I don't want to pay it. But in my opinion, it shouldn't be there in the total due unless I choose to voluntarily add it. How dare they add it automatically, especially since most people don't even know it's there and they're paying it without realizing it. So just this last week, I called an attorney to see if this is legal, and the attorney said it is. And I asked, how is it possible? It takes advantage of customers. They don't even know they're paying this so-called voluntary fee because it's included in the total amount due. And the attorney said it's because these timeshare companies line the pockets of politicians so that the laws favor them and not the timeshare owners. Of course, they probably do it legally with lots of donations to their campaigns and otherwise. But whatever the reason, they're receiving money, even though it's legal, and it's encouraging them to make sure the timeshare companies are happy at the expense of timeshare owners like us. So I'm starting to understand why these timeshare companies have all the rights and we owners don't have any. They have the money to donate, pay the right people. The other problem I have with this voluntary fee is that they say it's used to protect the investment of the owners. But if that's the case, why are the laws protecting the timeshare companies and not the owners? It seems to me, and this is just my opinion, that this voluntary fee isn't being used to protect us, it's being collected and used against us. Because it's certainly not helping us since everything benefits the big timeshare companies. When we first purchased 22 plus years ago, our sales guy lied to us. And unfortunately, that's pretty normal. It's shocking how often that happens. And yet there doesn't seem to be anything done by the timeshare companies to stop it. Or if they are trying to do something, it's not very effective. One time we went in for a so-called owner update, and the sales guy asked the sales manager to talk to us when we said we weren't interested in upgrading. The sales manager put on high-pressure tactics, and he literally called us idiots. It was something rude. It may not have been idiots, but it was something that or worse for not upgrading. Even with Hilton Grand Vacations. My wife and I were recently lied to by the person who asked us to join the owner update, and we were lied to by the sales guy that we talked to. And they gave us a VIP family vacation for attending the owner update that, in our opinion, was absolutely useless. A lot of things have changed over the years, and unfortunately, these changes took away benefits from owners. And our timeshare property has been purchased by different timeshare companies over the years. When Hilton Grand Vacations purchased our timeshare property, they were required to honor our original contract. But their system isn't set up for our contract. And most customer service representatives don't know how to give us what they are required to give us. So this creates a time-consuming hassle to get our entitled benefits. And that problem just seems to only be getting worse. Forbes did an article about timeshares, and here's a little of what they said about the negative aspects of owning a timeshare. You have no ownership in the property. You just have the opportunity to visit the property. That's why they call it vacation ownership. You just get a vacation each year at the same property or properties within their network. Annual dues for maintenance, repairs, etc. go up year after year, and sometimes they go up dramatically higher, making them unaffordable for some owners. Purchasing a timeshare is a long-term commitment, often lasting decades. They're a commitment that's so hard to get out of that some people will try to give their timeshare away, but that's usually very hard to do. You can't simply walk away from a timeshare by refusing to pay your annual dues the same way that you would if you wanted to walk away from your mortgage by refusing to make your monthly payments. As a side note, most people don't want timeshares because they know that once they have you, it's very difficult to escape. Forbes also said that Any benefits you get in a timeshare, you can also get with many other options without the problems associated with timeshares, especially with the widespread availability of extended stay properties on travel websites like Expedia, Priceline, Airbnb, and VRBO. We love to vacation, and we've traveled to over 50 countries. So please enjoy life and take time for vacations. But for us, we do not recommend timeshare ownership as part of your vacation plans.